well, today is now Thursday. We're filming Thursday, which means you'll see this Friday.
One day delay.
Thursday, which means Jesse's back. And of course we are in the danger.
Back into danger.
Back into danger, headed down to Muldoons. Jesse's transmission is done. So we are going down there, and the man himself, Mr. John Muldoon, I think is going to give us a shop tour. So obviously you guys are going to see that. You're going to see his shop truck, which he just got done getting finished with, which is badass. So you guys are going to see a bunch of stuff, but I'm not going to show you the whole... Oh shit, we are stopping in traffic.
We're going to die.
It's damn traffic. 295 traffic, man. Alright, so we're not going to show you the trip down there. You've seen that a million times. Delaware Memorial Bridge, all that happy, fun crap. Jesse's doing work. We're about to die.
Got my new Apache Power Boat shirt on. Shout out to them guys.
Power boats?
Yeah, you guys will see them in the summertime.
Boats and hoes.
Gotta get me my boats and hoes. Greg told me I could video whatever I want. Boy! We had a pit stop at Annie Ann's before.
Yeah, show him the bag. So he might have done a thing. Oops. Hashtag what diet?
Uh-oh. I ate all mine. Don't ever try to eat 2 Annie Ann's pretzels without anything to drink, because you will pass out from too much salt. So, we're almost at Muldoons.
I don't see her outside. Where's she at?
Bert must be in the back. Send it, send it!
Coming in hot.
Skirt!
That's it. We're here.
Oh, Bert, where are you? I miss you so much.
Hey!
What's happening?
What's happening?
Yeah, this is the one I thought was mine.
Look at this thing. So why exactly did the motor come apart like when it went through its last change? Like, what happened again?
The number 2 piston, whether it was methanol got under a ringland and detonated, or high EGTs, or maybe timing.
So something happened with the one cylinder.
Cylinder number 2 was 100 psi low on compression.
Compression, okay.
Yeah,
and then that
it ran fine the night that we shut it down, and the next morning is when it was obvious with a dead cylinder.
Mm-hmm. So now it has what for a bottom end?
Bottom end, Carrillo rods, everything's balanced. ARP main studs, Molly H bearings, everything's blueprinted, built in-house at my shop here.
That's right, you assembled everything, right?
I assembled the engine. Miller's machine shop did the machining to the block and the balancing. They pretty much got it ready for me to assemble. But as far as clearances and everything went,
the man himself put it together. And then fuel and air. Fuel and air?
Air is a Fleece Performance S471 87.90 area ratio with a spool valve, steed speed manifold. Fuel is Exergy 150% overs.
Dual pumps?
Yes, it's a that's another part of the fuel. It's a stock Duramax pump and a 10mm
Nice.
Exergy pump with a Fleece CP3K splitter.
Okay.
So we don't have any kind of standalone controller. It's very clean. Everything's tied into the harness.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it's a fun. It should be right around 1,000.
Yeah, right around 1,000. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, my buddy Rob did that for me.
That's cool.
On the first go around when the engine was red.
Super nice retrofit headlights. Those are
Vectors. Yeah.
This is pretty sleeper.
Yeah,
this is pretty sleeper.
Super.
That's the whole goal. Yeah. It's got like the old man fender flares.
Yeah.
No exhaust tip. Just something real subtle looking, you know?
Oh yeah, I like the it's got trans coolers in the back, right?
Yep.
And then
built underneath the toolbox there. It's got a thermostatic switch and a manual override in the cab.
Yep.
So they kick on at 160.
Yep, that's how I kind of have mine as well.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Yep.
Looks good. Happy to have her back.
So happy. Yeah, it's about a year of bolt selection, paint selection,
Yeah.
engine decisions, training decisions,
Yeah.
wiring diagrams. Just a lot of stuff.
Damn, it's got leather seats.
Yeah, we're working class on the bottom with rubber floors, and we're pimping up top with black suede headliner.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, and obviously it has the nastiest Muldoons transmission ever built.
I've built nastier ones.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, mine's just
the coolest option one.
it has a fat input, 27 spline TCS input, quad disc converter from Phil Taylor to PC. Just a standard 300M billet intermediate shaft, standard billet output 23 spline, nothing oversized there. Stock drum, TCS combo kit, PCS valve body. That allows us to run the.
Yeah, let's hop in there and show us the biggest thing going with this truck right now. So this is John's baby, and
we got paddles.
this is a Ferrari Dodge pickup truck, and you are the first and only. Yes, no.
No, I don't think I'm the first. Other people have done it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if other people have retained the clock spring. So when we turn,
Still works.
well, if the engine was on.
Right.
The clock spring is retained. Cruise control we could re-implement here
Shut the heat off real
if we
quick.
wanted to. Sorry.
That's okay.
But yeah, we put paddle shifters in this thing.
So, and it has regular drive mode,
Yeah.
and then you can switch it to paddle mode.
Yep, so there's auto mode. This will shift through the gears on its own. There's actually 3 modes. There's auto mode, there's smart manual, and there's true manual. And I typically ride around in smart manual because in true manual you can downshift into first gear at 60 miles an hour. And that's recipe for disaster. So yeah, pretty much we toggled it, or I toggled it right there. The calibration is built into the overdrive cancel or tow haul on the steering column, or on the shifter column. And
that's all possible through the PCS valve body.
So there's a standalone computer for the transmission. And the main reason that I wanted to implement paddle shifters is because there has always been a larger single turbo on this truck, and the OEM shift strategy from Dodge is not really that tunable. If you want to get it out of overdrive sometimes with a big turbo, you got to give it a lot of throttle and lean into it.
Right.
And I just want to be able to click a gear and drop a gear, spool, and go, and that's what this does. It works flawlessly.
That's awesome.
It runs like so well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got
Awesome.
a month of testing now, or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
So far no flaws.
So far it's working perfectly.
Coming to the public very soon then.
Yeah.
You think?
Bring your truck. I'm doing an in-house install. Building a kit, it's so involved. It's the wiring and everything that you need to do.
Yeah. I think I don't know.
It's tough.
That's calling my name, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Might have to be the second person.
Bring me your truck. I'll have it done.
Once the body work is done, we don't know. This will be the first stop. All right, so explain from the top here for somebody who this looks like a whole bunch of gibberish, what this is, what it does, and what it allows you to do from the top.
From the top, this is, in layman's terms, a valve body tester. The valve body is the brain of the transmission, and it tells the pressure where to go, applies the clutches, applies the bands, releases the clutches. It's responsible for torque converter lockup, overdrive. Pretty much any shift in the transmission is controlled by this guy. And what this machine does is it verifies for me, before I even put the valve body in the transmission on the bench building it, that it's going to work. So the test work means no guesswork.
Test work means no guesswork.
Yeah.
That's good.
We can pretty much dial in our pressures with this. Obviously, for performance transmissions, you run a little bit or a lot more pressure depending on the build. And this puts everything right on the map for us and gets us ready. So,
Perfect.
First thing we do is I like to test it in park. I've heard accounts of some transmissions applying the forward gears in park, which will destroy the forward clutches in the transmission. So the first thing I do is I put the valve body all the way in park, and
Oh, it's still like, that's like how you
yep. So this would be like in your truck,
Right.
except it's right here. Drive to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I check it in park first. So I gotta close the lids because in park these things really spray. Oh, I got it. But I basically look on main line, and we don't have any main line, so we're good. Now we can proceed with the rest of the testing. I do that for about just a little bit of time because it makes a mess. So the second step is I'll check reverse pressure. And reverse is typically anywhere between 250 and 300. This is 260. And we give it a little, we're good. I also like to make sure that the converter release is more than the apply, which means the lockup clutch is staying off on the converter, so we're not gonna have lockup in reverse or anything weird. Then I go to manual first, so this would be your manual low position in first gear on your gear column. Check pressure in that first. This valve body is making around 150. Manual second, make sure that the load band comes off, same pressure. We'll go, this is third gear inside of the trans. We checked all of our manual positions and they all work. So now it's time to run the transmission through an automatic test. This is a Tranex 2000. It simulates your truck's PCM. What we're doing is we're applying a duty cycle to the governor pressure solenoid, which is responsible for gears 1 through 3 shifts inside of your transmission. So our first step is to go into the shift test. Our second step is to make sure the connector's connected. Alright, now that that's connected, it's sending pulse width here to the governor pressure solenoid. So basically what happens is you apply a duty cycle, and right now just mainline applied. This is first gear. We'll check our pressure there, 150. And then I like to give it simulate just a little bit of gas, so I hold the TV a little bit, and then we'll come down. And what we're going to see first is we're going to see application of our second gear band, which is second gear applying inside of the transmission. And on third gear, it will release, third gear applied, and then we'll check fourth and torque converter with the electronic solenoids up here. So we're going to bring the duty cycle down on the governor pressure solenoid. So there's our second gear apply. And I want to check kick down, so when we give it some throttle, we want to make sure it kicks out a second. So we're good. So we'll come up a little more. There we go. There's our third gear. And we have kick down on third. We'll give it a little bit more duty cycle. Yep, there we go. So we're right around 140, 150 PSI main line. And holding steady in third gear. Our next test is to make sure that we have overdrive up here. This is fourth gear. Yep. There's overdrive, and then the last test will be lockup. And we've got lockup. So this valve body, for around 600 horsepower, our main line is right around 160 PSI. In the truck, it'll probably be around 150. For 600 horsepower on a daily driven truck, you don't want a whole lot more than that. And that's pretty much, that's just a run of an automatic. A full manual is a different animal. That's how this thing works.
So you got a really expensive transmission fluid squirter.
Yeah, for more or less.
Did anybody get all that? Okay, if not, rewind, because that was a lot of information in about 7 minutes. That's okay. That's okay. If somebody really wants to know that, hey, that's good shit. All right, so what transmission is this? And I guess just briefly, everything's on your website, right?
Yeah.
All the stages, what everything is included, but just a very generic overview of what the stages are and like typically where you'd bump up.
Right.
So first stage.
We do a super stock, which is pretty much good right around 450 horsepower, and a lot of people say don't do horsepower, but it's the easiest benchmark to base transport.
Right, right.
All the trucks we're working with are between 6,000 and 9,000 pounds, so we know what we're working with. So yeah, the super stock is good for 450 horsepower about. Single disc converter. All of our transmissions, just right off the bat, I'm going to tell you all of our transmissions have additional clutches in them. They have upgraded valve bodies, billet band strut and anchor. All the internal parts are addressed. The weakest links are addressed.
In all of them?
In every transmission.
Right.
So any trans you get from us, you're not going to have the common failures you'll see on an OE.
So super stock would be good for very few modifications, programmer, that's about it.
Yeah, and even on a common rail truck sometimes it's tough with a programmer because the boost comes in like that, and especially if you put injectors in a second gen with an HY turbo like that, you just got to run a little bit more TV. We can
right. Okay. Next stage. That's okay.
Next stage would be, well, it would be like a Tomax. That's a towing transmission. It's more or less the super stock, except we put a RM3 converter, and the RM3 converter, the difference between that and the new converter from Phil down there is the RM3 has a dampener, and it doesn't lock up quite as aggressively. So we build the valve body very conservatively in the lockup circuit, and we make lockup very easy so you don't break a stock input shaft.
Jesse is very confused back there right now.
Yeah. Lockup super conservative on the Tomax. Next one is a stage 1.
And everything DPC converters?
Everything.
And shafts are?
So input shafts, I use TCS Arizona, Rusty at TCS Arizona. And then intermediates and outputs, I will typically use TCS Canada. Or sometimes if we're doing the fat outputs, a lot of times we'll go with Sonax for convenience. They come as a package, it's a lot easier.
Okay.
But we'll use 3 brands, TCS Arizona, TCS Canada, or Sonax.
Gotcha.
Those are our 3 shaft manufacturers.
And DPC for all converters.
DPC converters. Stage 1 is basically, the foundation is going to be your super stock. The main difference between the super stock and the stage 1 is the stage 1 has a billet input shaft and a triple disc converter. That transmission will hold. That's for your fun truck. You're making 500-600 horsepower. You go out, you beat on the weekend, and you put it away. It's not a competition transmission. That transmission, if you try to do a 4-wheel drive launch, you're going to break the stock output shaft. That's when the stage 2 comes in.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. That's where the stage 2 comes into play. So stage 2 is the same as a stage 1. It's basically a foundation, and we just keep building higher and higher.
Yep.
But the stage 2 would have a billet input shaft and a billet output shaft. The other difference is once you get into stage 1 plus, they all have a deep pan on them for more fluid. The stage 2 also has some different things done to the valve body to get line pressure up a little bit more right off the bat. And stage 2 is pretty much rated for what the stock intermediate shaft is rated for. Right around 700, 750 horsepower is your cap there for the stage 2. And that's for guys that you can get out and race that transmission. You know, if you've got a truck in the high 11, 12-second range, as long as you're not a super heavy truck, that transmission will suit your needs. Best part about the stock intermediate shaft is if you do break it, they typically break in a clean fashion. It's an easy fix. We can get a billet intermediate shaft in, and you'll be on your way. And you'll be on your way with the stage 3.
Right.
Stage 3 is pretty much full billet. We rate that for 1,000 horsepower. Billet input, billet intermediate, billet output. Even more stuff is done to the valve body to make it really more competition oriented. It's going to shift even harder than a stage 2 or stage 1. Same clutch count, pretty much the internals almost all the same. Still get all the billet, servos, accumulators, pistons. All that stuff is from the super stock to pretty much our stage 4.
Right.
We use pretty much all the same internals. for the servos and accumulators and everything. Stage 4 is when we really get into some cool stuff. That transmission is pretty much for the guy who comes to us and says, hey, I want to hold more than 1,200 horsepower. We say, okay. And we pretty much sit down with the customer and we go over the truck's needs, how the customer drives the truck, its application, his fuel, his air setup, so we can get the stall speed on the torque converter really dialed in. And we always do a fat input with the stage 4, a miraging intermediate shaft, and typically a fat output shaft if the customer wants it. What that does is, those are the best shafts on the market, and it's pretty much creme de la creme. It's going to hold,
right.
The shafts will hold 1,200 horsepower. The valve bodies are built with even more pressure in mind. The biggest difference in our stage 4 transmissions is what we do is we get rid of these thrust washers, and what we do is we replace them with roller bearings. So if you look in here, I'll pop this open. So inside of this, there are a lot of little needle bearings, often referred to as a Torrington bearing. And what that does is it really cuts down on the friction coefficient between a thrust washer. This basically rides in all your intermediate shaft gear trains. So in between your sun shell, your rear ring gear, your front ring gear, and your planetaries, you've got these washers, and they're a metal on metal contact. This breaks that up, and the friction coefficient's much lower. With this style, you rarely have any debris in your pan. You'll have some debris from your frictions from your clutches because they naturally always make a little bit, but much less break-in debris from these guys, from the bearings.
Cool.
And also stage 4, we TIG weld certain parts in the actual gear train of the transmission to make them stronger.
And this is why he builds the transmissions and we don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you ever had any questions about if John knows this shit. All right, so what did Jesse's truck get again?
Jesse got
stage
3.
Not Jesse's truck. Jesse's truck. All right, go ahead, sorry.
Jesse got a stage 3, standard size billet input shaft. He got a billet intermediate shaft, and a 300M, and a TCS Arizona input, TCS Canada intermediate, and a TCS Canada 29 spline output shaft. On the heavier trucks, we like to put the 29 spline output shafts.
Because of the weight?
The weight, and the same goes for...
And this guy drives like an ass.
Yeah.
Everybody saw that on when we drove down here.
When we drove down here, everyone's like, he drives like a jerk off.
And yes, Jesse's blinkers do work. He's just drives like an a-hole and doesn't use them.
I know where I'm going. I don't know why everyone else needs to know where I'm going.
Shoot the gap.
That's it.
Gotta send it.
So because of the weight, the fat output on his truck.
And anything above 1,000, we like to put a fat input too. But Jesse wanted a trans build for 1,000 horsepower, so standard size. Guys are holding 1,500 horsepower with their shafts with the standard 23 spline input. So that's what Jesse got.
Just in case he wants to get rowdy.
Yeah, well he's got the fat output, so he's not going to break that guy. It's got TCS servo, TCS accumulator, our valve body that's built and tested in-house, additional clutches in the Overdrive brake, additional clutch in the direct drum, transmission's fully blueprinted, SFI approved flex plate, all new electronics. It's pretty much
awesome.
It's pretty much
Whole
the
lot
way,
of transmission and no motor.
Yeah.
Still completely stock. Thing's probably
golf brake.
slower than molasses. Any words there, Dingaling?
Bert's back, bitches.
Bert's back, bitches.
I like the alliteration. Feel like daylight.
All right, buddy.
We could do that.
Cool.
See you, man.
See you, my man.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you.
keep up. All right, guys, that is gonna wrap up this video. We are home now. It's close to 10 o'clock. We need to eat. I'm gonna start editing this video. Hopefully I can get this done before lunchtime tomorrow. That's when I'm pretty much gonna stay uploading between, say, 11:30 and 12:30 is when I'm gonna keep uploading. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that little shop tour with John, his explanations of all the stages that he offers. Like I've mentioned plenty of times before, all transmission work goes to him. Super great guy, down to earth, willing to explain anything you might need. He can really custom tailor any transmission to any of your possible needs, and he is just a great guy to deal with in every aspect. So highly recommend him. Go check him out on his website. Give him a call if you need anything. I am extremely tired, but as always, guys, thank you for watching. Before you leave, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you tomorrow. Pizza man's here. How's she feel? She feel like $1 million or what?
Yeah.
Solid?
Yeah, way better than what it did.